Yes.
Okay. Welcome, students from San Jose State University. My name is Hugo Mora Torres, and I am an advisor in the College of Health and Human Sciences. And joining me doing our technical is another advisor, and her name is Natalie Rios. And we are all under the, like I mentioned, we're working for the College of Health and Human Sciences, and our program, our brand new doctorate program in audiology, is also in the program in the College of Health and Human Sciences. And so this presentation will be conducted by the head of the audiology program, which is Dr. Shaum Bagat. I'm gonna hand it over to him. We will stop in about 10 minutes to ask you to sign in for this webinar. And then also near the end to have you do a workshop survey. But other than that, you're in the good hands of Dr. Bagat. Go ahead, Dr. Bagat.
Good day, everyone. My name is Shaum Bagat. I'm the department chair for the Department of Audiology at San Jose State University, and we are indeed part of the College of Health and Human Sciences. Our Doctor of Audiology program just launched this fall, so we have our first cohort of students. They've just started their classes, and so far so good. It looks like we have a successful group of students. And we are recruiting for next year for our second cohort of students. And so I'm very thankful to be here today to talk about our program and to let you know a little bit about our faculty, their research interests, our curriculum, our clinical experiences that our students will undertake, as well as any other questions you might have about applying to the program, the process of applying, what you need to apply. I'll be happy to answer your questions. I've developed a little presentation to begin with, and Mr. Mora Torres will be helping me with advancing the slides. So that's me, of course. I'm the department chairperson. I've been at San Jose State University for about 3.5 years now. I started as the department chair of the Department of Communicative Disorders and Sciences at San Jose State. And then about 1.5 years ago, I transferred to our new department, the Department of Audiology, to begin this Doctor of Audiology program. Next slide, please. So our faculty members, we have several faculty members in our department. Dr. June McCullough is a professor, and she is part-time teaching in our department and part-time teaching in the Department of Communicative Disorders and Sciences. And she's teaching a class this semester called Professional Issues for Audiologists. Dr. Adam Speck just recently joined us this fall. He started teaching for the first semester here at San Jose State University. And he's an assistant professor, and he teaches 3 classes this fall for our program. Dr. Jody Winzelberg is our coordinator of clinical services, and she is very busy in establishing partnerships with the community so that our students can go off campus for clinical externship experiences, including externship experiences and internship experiences at local clinics, at local hospitals, and at local private practices. And Ms. Shaylin Bissell is our program analyst, and she is very instrumental in answering prospective student questions about admissions. She's been very helpful to us with the admissions process. In addition to the faculty members you see there, we are recruiting for 3 additional faculty members that will be joining us hopefully in the fall. And one of the faculty members will be working with Dr. Winzelberg as a coordinator of clinical services, and the other 2 faculty members hopefully will be joining us in the fall as tenure track faculty members. The next slide, please. So our AUD program is designed to emphasize clinical proficiency that is informed by scholarly research and evidence-based practice. Our program is a 4-year course of study that includes academic courses, clinical rotations, and a required doctoral research project. Our program is located in the Silicon Valley, of course, at one of the top 200 of the research universities in the nation. We have planned our program such that graduates of our program will be ethical, culturally sensitive, prepared to assume leadership roles, and experienced in an interprofessional team approach to patient care among patients such as infants, toddlers, children, adults, and elders. Next slide, please. So what is audiology, and what does a doctor of audiology, what sort of practice does a doctor of audiology perform? An audiologist is a healthcare professional who specializes in the diagnosis, treatment, and prevention of hearing loss and related disorders, including balance disorders in adults and children. And an audiologist uses a variety of tests and procedures to assess hearing imbalance and to fit and dispense hearing aids and other assistive devices for hearing. The next slide, please. So here are some of the work settings that our graduates can find themselves working in. There are many different work settings. You can be a private practice owner. You can own your own private practice. You can work as a clinical audiologist in a hospital or in a clinic. You can eventually become a faculty member at a university. You could work for a hearing aid manufacturer. You could perform research in a research setting. Many audiologists also play a role in the schools. So there are educational audiologists that work with children in the schools or youngsters in middle and high schools in the school setting. Audiologists can also play a role in military audiology. So the military many times requires audiology services, as well as certain audiologists, because of the nature of their profession, are experts in the field of hearing and balance, and therefore they can be called upon to testify in court as an expert witness. And that general field is referred to as forensic audiology. So there's a variety of interesting workplace settings that doctors of audiology can work in following graduation from an accredited program. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we are recruiting now for students for our second cohort. And the deadline for applications for the class of students that will be beginning their programs in the fall of 2021. The deadline for applications for fall of 2021 is February 1st of 2021. And we are using a national repository, which is called CIDCAS, to host our applications. So in order to apply to our program, you have to apply to CIDCAS. And the deadline for the applications to CIDCAS is February 1st of 2021. In addition to that, whenever you apply to any of the Cal State universities, it's mandatory that you have to apply to the Cal State University application system, which is called Cal State Apply. And again, the deadline for our program to submit your application to Cal State Apply is once again February 1st of 2021. And thank you, Natalie, for including the link to CIDCAS. That's very helpful. Thank you for showing that link.
You're welcome.
So there's two components to apply: the CIDCAS application, the Cal State Apply application, and then you also have to submit your official transcript directly to San Jose State University. And so if you complete those three steps by February 1st of 2021, your application will be ready to be reviewed by our admissions committee. As part of your application, you need to make sure that you have completed certain prerequisite classes, and those include a 3-semester unit class in the social and behavioral sciences. So that could be a psychology class, that could be a sociology class, an anthropology class. In addition to that, you need a 3-semester unit class in the physical sciences, so that could be in physics or chemistry. In addition to that, you need a 3-semester unit class in the biological sciences, and that could be any of the biological sciences. You need a 3-semester unit class in statistics, and as an optional class, we would recommend that you have American Sign Language, but that's optional, that's not required. In addition to the prerequisite classes, you, as part of your application portfolio, when you apply, you have to include your resume, your letter of interest, 3 letters of recommendation from professors or supervisors, and we have a form where you can record observation hours. Now, there's a special note for this year. Because of the pandemic, our program does understand that it's difficult for students to achieve getting 20 hours of observation in audiology clinics, because many of the audiology clinics will not accept students observing in their facilities this year because of the pandemic. And so I would say that if you've had an opportunity to have some observation hours, that you can record those hours on our observation hours form, which you can find on our department webpage. The URL you see there, sjsu.edu/AUD/ is our department website. If you're not able to achieve getting all 20 observation hours completed, we are understanding of the fact that this year is a special situation and observation hours may not be easy to come by. And so we are lenient regarding the 20 hours of observation this year. That means that if you submit your application and if the admissions committee decides to admit you to our program and you decide to join us in the fall, that we will have a procedure by which you can complete the observation hours while you're a student in our program. That's a special case for this year. Also, a special case for this year is the fact that we have waived the GRE as a requirement for admissions this cycle because, again, because of the pandemic, we've heard that many students have had problems gaining access to a testing center where the GRE is given. And so for this year, we have waived the GRE requirement. The next slide, please.
Can we stop for a second, guys? Because we need to pause just to register you guys, because for 2 reasons. Number one is we're recording this session, and we're gonna send you a link in case you didn't take note or something, and to the recording. And we're also gonna send that link out to other people that receive this email in case they want to look at the recording later, because maybe they couldn't attend the session for because they're in class. So at this point, Natalie's going to send you it's going to take over for just about 2 or 3 minutes and ask you to register for this session. And then we'll continue. Go ahead, Natalie.
Thank you, Ugo. Thank you. So in the chat box, I put in the attendance link. So if you could please click on that link and fill out the form, that'd be great. And if you're having trouble with the link, please private message me and I will help you out. Thank you. All right. Later on, we'll do the survey at the end. Go ahead, Dr. Sham. Thank you.
Well, I think that is our presentation in terms of the PowerPoint. As mentioned in the PowerPoint presentation, our program is a 4-year course of study, and that means there's 110 semester units in the coursework and the clinical practica experiences during the 4 years of the program. The first 3 years include coursework and clinic experiences, The last year, the fourth year, is a full-time externship experience where students work under the supervision of a licensed doctor of audiology. Some of the fourth year externship placement sites pay their externs and some do not. It depends upon the externship site itself. So at this point, if you have any specific questions for me in terms of our program or how to apply or tips on writing your personal statement or how to solicit letters of recommendation from your recommenders, I'll be happy to assist in any way I can.
Do all the prerequisites have to be finished before they apply?
Ideally, yes. Yes, they have to be finished before they apply.
And I think you mentioned the letters of recommendation. It's one academic and one from an audiologist.
We prefer that at least two of the letters come from an academic source, like a professor that has taught you in one of your classes as an undergrad. And the other letter, the third letter, could come from a supervisor or someone that maybe you know in the field of audiology. That would suffice as a letter. That would be the third letter.
I have a question. Is there a particular major that a student who's interested in continuing into audiology major in?
So that's a very good question. Thank you for asking that. So in our program, we don't recommend a very specific major. So that means that students that major in a variety of fields can apply to our program and can be accepted. Many other of the Doctor of Audiology programs in the state, they do require that students have an extensive background in, for example, communicative disorders and sciences, but our program does not. We don't require an extensive prerequisite course list in CDS or Communication Sciences and Disorders classes because we want to make sure that our students come from a variety of academic backgrounds. So you could major in biology, you could major in psychology, you could major in English, and as long as you have the 4 prerequisite courses that are required, then you can apply to our program and you can be eligible for admissions.
Excellent, thank you.
You're welcome.
Question. How early are students going to start clinical courses? So within the first, second semester, different, or third semester? Do you have an idea when they'll start like actual clinical placements?
Yes, thank you for asking that question. That's a very good question. So our curriculum is designed so that students begin their first practicum experience, which is on campus in our on-campus clinic, in their second semester in the program. So you enter in the fall, and the following spring would be your first actual clinical practicum experience with patients. Now, of course, with the pandemic, the plans have been altered a little bit for the first cohort of students that started this fall, but we're working hard to make sure that they're on track in terms of receiving the clinical training that they need. So I saw in the chat that there was a question that pertains to the students with majors. And the question is, are all majors welcome to apply? The answer is yes, most definitely. Any major is welcome. A student from any major is welcome to apply as long as you have completed those 4 required prerequisite course areas. Yes, and prerequisites are ideally expected to be completed prior to applying. Yes.
Hi, Dr. Bhagat. I have a question.
Ika, hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you? So the first question I have is, what is your guys' cohort size? So from the current cycle and then for this upcoming. And then my second question was, along with Myra's, was with COVID and all the precautions, how did clinic proceed through the pandemic? Was it all through simulations, or were the students able to go in person and in clinic with PPE and protection?
So two very good questions, thank you. So for the first part of the question, the cohort size for this year is 11 students. 11 students have enrolled. And from year to year, our target number of students is 10 to 12. So for the next cohort, the fall 2021 cohort, our target class size will be 10 to 12 students. And that will be the case going forward for the next years in the coming future years as well. The second part of the question, yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, never mind. You can finish.
So I was just going to finish Mika's question, the second part of the question, and that is, how did we handle the clinical experiences in the wake of COVID for this first cohort, our current cohort of students? And as I mentioned in our curriculum, it is planned that students don't begin their first clinical practicum experience until the spring of their first year. So for our current students, that means next semester. And we have planned several simulations, as well as we have planned observations. So our director of clinical services, Dr. Winzelberg, has been at work in contacting clinics and hospitals around the community where our students may have some opportunities to observe clinical practice in next semester as part of the clinical practicum. We've also purchased several portable audiometers that students will be able to take home with them to practice clinical audiometry with the audiometers at home. And then we have purchased some computer simulation software that will enable students again to practice on virtual audiometers with virtual patients. So that's a special case this spring because the university again, it has given us the mandate that almost all instruction will be virtual next semester as it was for the fall. And so we've had to plan accordingly with our clinical practicum class for the spring. And again, that's the first clinical practicum for students that are currently in the program. Going forward, we hope with news of successful vaccines that we'll be able to come back to campus fully, if not in the summer, hopefully by the fall, certainly. And then plans would change, obviously, to go back to how we originally planned the program before the pandemic. I see a question in the chat about how competitive is the program. Well, last year we got 34 completed applications and we admitted 12 students and 11 ended up enrolling in the program. So out of 34 applications that were completed, 11 were admitted. So it's competitive, but it's not insurmountable, I would say.
Hi, Dr. Balat.
Hi, Mohammed, how are you?
I'm good. How about you? I just have a quick question. So you talked about official transcripts, but as you know that I'm a student here at SJSU, so will I need to submit an official transcript, or how would that work for students?
So that's a very good question also. So for San Jose State University students, you do not have to submit an official transcript because you've already been at San Jose State. So there's a record of the classes that you have taken. So for all other students applying from other universities, they have to submit their official transcript. But for San Jose State University students, you do not.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. Shabbat, how is the job market once these students graduate?
The job market is very good. For many years in the state of California, there's been a very low supply of doctors of audiology. And at the same time, there's a very big demand for audiological services. So I've been told that for every job opening, there's so few doctors of audiology that many of the current jobs go unfilled because there's a very low supply of audiologists in the state right now. And that means that the salary, the market for doctors of audiology is very good. I've heard that the starting salary for graduates that have just graduated varies between $90,000 to $100,000 per year. And it can be more than that as well, depending upon the setting where you're working. So when you're just starting out in the field, you're earning close to 100,000 to slightly more than that per year on average. And that can, of course, depending upon the setting, be considerably more than that. So it's a very good job market and salaries are very good. Probably salaries in the state of California are by far the best salaries in the whole country in terms of starting salaries for beginning graduates or for graduates that have just finished their programs.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I actually also had a question.
Yes, please.
So regarding like ASH's accreditation, since SJSU's program just opened up, is that still in progress or has been finalized yet?
So thank you for that question. We have been granted candidacy status from the Council on Academic Accreditation, or CAA, and CAA is affiliated with ASHA. So the steps to full accreditation are multi-year steps, and we're in the process of getting full accreditation. So our anticipation would be that around the time that the first cohort of students graduate, that we would achieve accreditation from either CAA, or we are also being accredited by a second accrediting organization, which is called the Accreditation Commission for Audiology Education, or ACAE. We have developing status from ACAE. And again, achieving full accreditation for any program, not just ours, but any program. Once you get candidacy status or developing status, the process is a multi-year process. And we certainly expect that eventually our program will be fully accredited by both organizations.
All right, I see. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Professor Bugat, I have one question.
Yes.
In regards to like to the roadmap, I saw like certification and like research projects and like the writing in a sense, and how does it work in that way?
Sorry, could you repeat your question one more time? I didn't quite hear it.
Sorry, like in regards to the roadmap,
Yes.
there's like testing in regards to like certification, I think, or there's like in the first year there's like testing, second year there could be like writing, then third year there's like research projects. So how does that like work out in that case?
So yeah, so according to our roadmap, there are 3 milestone examinations. The first is the qualifying examination that happens after the student completes the first full year of studies, fall, spring, and summer. After the student completes the first fall, spring, and summer, there's a qualifying exam, which you need to pass in order to advance in the program. And then at the end of the second year, we have a written comprehensive exam. And at the end of the third year, there's an oral comprehensive exam. So there's 3 milestone exams along the way that allow you to continue in the program and to advance if you pass those exams. And then we have a research project which students begin working on in their second year in the program. And the research project is a 4-semester project. And by the end of the 4th semester, it hopefully will be completed. And then you will advance to your 4th year externship after that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for all your information so far, Professor Sham. I think this is a good break also to do our survey. What do you think, Ugo?
Yes, good, good. That way students can think of any other lingering questions as they're filling out the survey. And then we can continue if you like.
All right. So our dean would like us to see how we're doing. And so Ugo and I created a survey for students to fill out so that we can better serve you next time. So if you guys can take a moment to also fill out the survey using the link I provided in the chat box. Again, if you're having any trouble with the form, please let me know and I'll help you directly. It's a quick survey, just asking you questions about how we did, the information, was it related to the description that we created with the flyer. So if you can please fill out that form and let us know how we did, that would be much appreciated. Thank you so much. And yeah, you guys are asking great questions, so keep them coming.
So Dr. Bugad, yeah, we are recording this, and then within a couple of weeks, we'll have a link to the recording, and we'll follow up and send the same the email to all the people that we received the recruitment email for this workshop. We'll send them the link to that recording just in case it couldn't make it due to conflict with classes. So that way we're getting more people that way as well.
Great. Thank you for providing that service. It's good outreach for our program. So that's much appreciated. Any other questions about the classes you'll be taking if you decide to join us, or the types of clinical experiences that we have planned?
Do you have any solidified placements in mind that you've already worked on, like contracts?
Yes, we have several contracts with existing institutions. We have contracts with some of the Kaiser hospitals and clinics. We have contracts with some of the Stanford University hospitals and clinics. We have some contracts with some private practices that are in town. So you'll get a full range of clinical experiences in our program in hospitals, clinics, and private practices.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anything you would like us to highlight in the personal statement? I know that some of the key points are already highlighted under admissions requirement for the department's webpage, but is there something you feel students should really emphasize?
Well, this is some advice probably. If you've talked with me before, you might have heard it before, but I think whenever you apply to any program, whether it's ours or any other program, if you can think about what that program can offer you as a student, and if you're interested in particular aspects of audiology, if you're interested in working with children or with adults or with our elders, if you're especially interested in working with special populations, it would benefit yourself as an applicant to research those programs, find out what those programs have to offer you, because ultimately you're going to be investing a lot of your time and your money in that program, and you want to make sure that it offers what you're looking for in terms of your education. So finding out about the faculty in each program that you apply to in terms of what their interests are in teaching and in clinical supervision and in research, it's going to benefit yourself because especially if you have already decided that there's a particular area of audiology you're really interested in, it's good to find out if the programs that you're going to be applying to can provide you with the type of experience that you would like in your education. And, you know, I've served as an admissions committee member for many years now, both here at San Jose State, and before I was here at San Jose State, I worked in another Doctor of Audiology program at another university. For 12 years, I was there at the University of Memphis in Tennessee in their Doctor of Audiology program. And I think if you can personalize your personal statement to make it so that you can show the admissions committee that you have thought about audiology as a career, and you have thought about what that particular program that you're applying to, what it can offer you as a student in terms of the types of educational experiences that you are seeking. The more details you can provide in your personal statement that pertain to that particular program that you're applying to, the better. I mean, that shows the admissions committee that you have done your homework, so to speak, and trying to find out about that particular program. You've gone the extra mile in terms of your own effort in learning about that program. That's always impressive to me as an admissions committee member when I see that a student has written specifically about our program. We have a very good faculty, in my opinion. You know, Dr. June McCullough has been here at San Jose State for, I think, more than 30 years now. Dr. Adam Sweck, who has recently joined us, is very promising as a young faculty member. He's just recently graduated from his PhD program, and he worked in the hearing aid industry, so he knows a lot about hearing aids in terms of both clinical practice and the theoretical foundations of how we should be dispensing and fitting hearing aids. You know, in our program, we strive to provide students with evidence-based practice. That means knowing kind of the scientific foundations that underlie or underscore clinical practice. That's very important to us as a program. And that's what a doctoral education is. A doctoral education is about learning in a comprehensive way, not only just about clinical practice, but understanding the basis of our profession scientifically as well. That's our program's philosophy, and using that knowledge to help understand what is best practice in providing services to the public. After all, we want to hold the interests of our patients in the highest regard, and we want to provide our patients with the best services we can. And so we try to train our students in our program to appreciate what the evidence says about what is best practice and to provide that practice to our patients.
Folks, I am, so my name is Ugo, and I'm an advisor in the College of Health and Human Science Student Success Center. Here's how you make an appointment with us. You want to take a screenshot of that? I've had many years of experience helping students get into graduate programs, and I'm very well versed in helping students start and refine their personal statements or their statement of purpose, depending on the program. So if you would like to make an appointment with us, this is how you do it. And if you don't know my name, This is who we are, right? Where, hold on a second. Yeah, this is me right here. Natalie's picture is not up yet. We're gonna fix that real soon, but either one of us can help you with the personal statement development. Just give us plenty of notice. Okay, you don't want to do this on, say, January 14th or 16th when the application is due February 1st. Okay, we should probably, if you're gonna apply this next cycle, you should probably start working on that personal statement this month, December, before you go to spring break, winter break. That way you'll have it done with plenty of time before you apply. And again, that's me. And here's how you make an appointment. If you need help getting started on a personal statement, or if you need help, somebody to edit it. I have no connection to the audiology program. We're totally separate. We just work for them to help promote the program. And given what I learned today, I'm happy to advise students who want to put together an educational plan to make sure they hit all the requirements, both educational and clinical, before they apply. Okay, so that's the end of my pitch.
Thank you.
A question. So do you only offer advising for just general application process, or are you familiar with the CIDCAS system and Cal State Apply? Would you be able to help us with specific questions?
No, I am not familiar with CIDCAS at all, but I will be after this cycle. I hope I'm familiar with other centralized application services for, like, for example, physician assistant, physical therapy. And so they allow me to do a sample application. I'm going to have to contact CIDCAS to see if they'll allow me as an advisor to log in and pretend I'm a student and see all the nuances of that application. But I won't be able to do that till, well, maybe after finals. Between now and then, I'm totally booked and I won't have time. But maybe after finals, I'll make some time to go through the CIDCAS after I contact CIDCAS to ask if I can do that without, if it's legally possible, if they condone it, etc. I don't want to be on their wrong side.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I had another question, Dr. Bagat. Will the admissions be based solely on the application, or will there be like an interview?
So for this year, it's based on the application. We did not plan interviews for this year. And it remains to be decided if interviews will be a part of the admissions process in future years. But for this year, it's just based on the application materials that you submit.
I have a question, Dr. Bagat. Once again. So, how should we ask our professors for a letter of recommendation? What would you say about this?
Well, that's a very good question. If you've had a chance to get to know your professor at all in the classes that you've taken thus far, the better you know your professor, the better the professor will remember you and be able to give you a good recommendation. And so I would say that, if you haven't already, try to get to know your professors. That might mean visiting with them in their office hours if you can, if you have questions about class. That's one way to get to know your professors a little bit better, is to visit with them during the office hours, and you can talk with them not only about questions you have in class, but questions about, the professions, both speech language pathology and audiology. And that's one way to get to know your professors a little bit better. I think probably that's the best way as far as I can tell. Or, if you have the opportunity to work on a special project where you can get to know your professor a little bit more than you would if you did not participate in that project, then the best way to get a good letter of recommendation is to get to know your professor, and so that they will know you, know your accomplishments, and be able to write you a good letter of recommendation.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And letters of recommendation, they also can come from non-academic people, like if you've had the opportunity to serve in a service organization or to volunteer for a charity. And if you know someone from those organizations, that if those people know you well, they might also be someone to consider asking for a letter, that since they know you well, they might be able to write a strong letter. Again, 2 out of the 3 letters we would prefer if they came from academic sources like your teachers or your professors, but the 3rd letter could come from a supervisor, someone that's worked with you in a charity, someone that knows you well enough to comment on your potential as a graduate student. Especially if they're connected to the profession of audiology, that's a bonus, because we always look upon professionals in the field in terms of, we really like letters from professionals in the field if they can recommend students for our program, and if they're well-known professionals in the field, then if they recommend you, then that's a feather in your cap, or it's a good thing to have. I would also recommend trying to apply to more than one program, simply because it's a good way to find out about different programs, because again, you're going to be investing a lot of your time and other resources in these programs to get your education, and you want to make sure that it's a good fit. So you want to look at different programs to see what they can offer you as a student, because ultimately that's what you would want, is to make sure that the program that ultimately you might consider is the best fit for your own needs and for your own interests. Does anyone here have an idea of what type of audiologist they would like to be? Like, do you want to work with children primarily, or do you want to focus on working with adults, or is it too early to say?
I'm thinking of maybe working in an educational setting, but yeah, it's too early to say.
That's good. Good to know.
Most of my experience is with children, but I'm open to doing all ages. And I think cochlear implants would be nice.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. So in our program, we have a full course dedicated to cochlear implants. And we're going to, several of our sites that we have partnered with offer cochlear implant services. So our students, once they rotate off campus, will have opportunities to work with cochlear implant patients in the community. Usually those types of experiences are in medical settings, where you could be part of a team of healthcare professionals that works with patients that have cochlear implants.
You kind of touched on that too. I was going to ask, what type of work environment would an audiologist work in? You did touch on, hospitals, but how about like schools or their own personal clinics and stuff?
Oh yes, definitely. So there's educational audiology. So an educational audiologist would work in a school district. They would either run hearing screening programs in the schools, or they could work particularly with children that have hearing impairment or children that are hard of hearing. They would, educational audiologists can work with teachers to make sure that the instruction that children receive is audible to all of the children. So there are devices and instruments that educational audiologists work with to make sure that the classroom setting is conducive to teaching and instruction in terms of hearing. And then many audiologists have their own private practice where they dispense hearing aids or provide other services privately as the owner of their own practice. Many audiologists work in centers that focus on balance and equilibrium. So there's that aspect of our profession also, that it's not just hearing, it's also balance and equilibrium. So if patients are dizzy or have balance issues, they tend to fall and so forth. Sometimes it's a problem that involves the ears, sometimes it doesn't, but audiologists are involved in the diagnosis and treatment of patients that have dizziness and equilibrium problems. So that's a whole nother scope of practice in audiology that I didn't get a chance to talk about, but it's really interesting also.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And most of those settings, again, occur in medical or healthcare settings, like in a hospital or in a clinic, where patients come to the doctors to evaluate why are they dizzy or why do they have problems maintaining their balance. They usually go to a medical setting like a hospital or a clinic to find out answers to the questions about their dizziness and imbalance. And being in Silicon Valley, there are several companies here that manufacture hearing devices. And so you can work with those companies. As I mentioned, Dr. Sweck, one of our faculty members, worked for several years with hearing aid companies to build essentially better hearing aids to help people hear better with hearing aids. And so there are several companies in Silicon Valley that focus on manufacturing hearing devices. And I think there's going to be even more of those types of companies in the near future, where you can work for the company that makes the hearing aids. That's a definite alternate area that you can work in as an audiologist. That's like a corporate type of hearing setting where audiologists can work in.
Dr. Bogata, I have a question related to, that doesn't like students have any more questions, so this is sort of the area of vertigo.
Yeah.
I've, because of, the last few months, I've known 5 or 6 family members, and I've had 2 episodes of vertigo. Should we go see an audiologist instead of just going through the medication and MDs and stuff like that, just to see what's going on?
Well, usually the first stop is to your, your general practitioner, your family practice doctor. And then that doctor will perform an evaluation. And then if needed, that doctor might refer you to an ear, nose, throat doctor. And audiologists work with ear, nose, throat doctors all the time. And if needed, then you might be referred to an audiologist for special testing or for treatment. But usually when patients are dizzy, the first medical professional they see is their own doctor. And then that doctor will refer to specialists for further testing and treatment.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a quick question. Hello. So I know there's like personally I have to take a gap year. And I was wondering if you could offer any advice as to what could be done during that year to further better the application for like the following year, for example. Just a general question like that.
Yes, thank you for asking that question. It's a very good question. Well, normally I would say if you have the opportunity to shadow an audiologist in their practice, that would be ideal. But given that the fact we're living right now in a pandemic and many clinics are not opening for students to come and observe, it's difficult now for students to have the opportunity to observe or to shadow an audiologist in their practice. But hopefully, with the vaccines on the horizon, hopefully, the situation will change, and at some point, if not this spring, but maybe over the summer or in the fall, if you have the opportunity where you can actually go to a clinic and see audiology in practice, where you have professionals working in the clinic and you have an opportunity to shadow in that type of environment, that would be my best recommendation. Also, to use that time to find out more about audiology, to read up about what's possible in the profession of audiology. Maybe go online and do some research about different audiology programs. Try to find out the type of program that is best suited for your own interests and needs as a student. Just off the top of my mind, those would be the main recommendations I would have at this point.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so that's our time today. Thank you so much, Professor Sham, for your time and knowledge of this great avenue to pursue if there's students who are interested in audiology. So thank you so much again for your time. Thank you, attendees, for coming and hearing the information. Again, this video will be uploaded onto our channel. So if you haven't followed us, it's the CHHS SSC channel. And we'll also have it on our website. So thank you again. Feel free to email or contact us if you have any further questions. And thank you for your time today. You guys may log off. Thank you.
Thank you also to
Yeah.
Mr. Hugo Mora Torres
Yes.
and Ms. Natalie Rios. Thank you very much for your assistance and help during this workshop. Thank you very much.
Yes, no problem. Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.